Since childhood, you felt that life around you seemed to follow a normal rhythm, but somehow, something inside you said there was something different. Perhaps it was that inexplicable feeling of not completely belonging, those inexplicable moments when everything seemed out of place, or even the deep thoughts that arose when no one else seemed to question anything. From your childhood, you noticed signs you couldn't fully understand, an internal whisper, a silent call trying to show you something greater. What few know is that these experiences might be part of a hidden code, a mark that only a few carry. And if I tell you that all this was not by chance, but rather a sign of your true purpose? Stay with me until the end of this video, because what you are about to discover may completely change the way you see your own journey. Maybe you spent your childhood feeling that you saw the world in a way that no one else seemed to see. While other children simply followed the normal rhythm of life, something inside you was always restless, questioning, observing, feeling beyond what was said. You noticed people's energies, knew when someone wasn't telling the truth, and often seemed to carry a weight you didn't even understand. This feeling of being out of place, of being different, was not a mistake. On the contrary, it can be the greatest proof that something grand is reserved for you. But why are some people born with this heightened perception, and others simply live without noticing? The answer to this question can change everything. There is a hidden code that manifests in the lives of the chosen ones from their early years. Small details, seemingly common situations, but that actually hide a sign of your true purpose. What happened to you is not by chance. The challenges you faced, the sensations that no one else seemed to understand, the thoughts that made you question everything. There is a reason behind this. And throughout this video, you will understand exactly why. But before we reveal this truth, you need to know something fundamental. The world around you never wanted you to discover this. That's why many give up before they see the answer. But you are not here by chance. If you've made it this far, it means your soul already feels that something needs to be revealed. And the only way to understand what really happened to you is to keep watching. The childhood of the chosen ones is never ordinary. From a very early age, there is a persistent feeling of isolation and not belonging, as if the world around you followed a different logic from what you intuitively understood. While other children seem to easily fit into groups, follow patterns without questioning, and simply flow with life, you felt that something was out of place. At home, at school, in any social environment, the feeling of being out of place, as if you were observing everything from the outside, was constant. Often, this made you question yourself, why am I like this? Why can't I be like the others? But this difference was not a mistake. It was a characteristic of the chosen ones. The world around you seemed to operate on a different frequency, and this was never a coincidence. This difference was even more evident due to your extreme sensitivity. You picked up on emotions and energies intensely, perceiving even what no one said in words. Just entering a room was enough to feel when something was wrong, just looking into someone's eyes to perceive their true intention. This sensitivity, instead of being a well-understood gift, often became a burden. Small events that seemed not to affect others marked you deeply. Harshly spoken words, injustices around you, others suffering. All of this was felt as if it were your own. This is because the chosen ones have an intense, energetic connection with the world, absorbing vibrations that most people don't even notice. This characteristic made you go through situations where you felt too much, but didn't know how to deal with it. And it wasn't just in the waking world that these signs manifested. Since childhood, your dreams and spiritual experiences were different from anyone else around you. While others had common, disconnected, and seemingly unimportant dreams, yours carried messages, symbols, deep sensations, and even visions of things that later came true. Many chosen ones report having premonitions from an early age, an intuition so strong it became frightening. Maybe you had the feeling that someone was going to call before the phone even rang, or you knew what was about to happen before it did. Many also report feeling invisible presences, hearing whispers when alone, or having inexplicable spiritual encounters in childhood. This wasn't imagination. These were signs that your soul was already awakened to something much greater. But having this sensitivity from an early age didn't make your journey easier. On the contrary, the childhood of the chosen ones is often filled with challenges and trials that shape their spirit for the mission they have to fulfill. You may have faced early losses, emotional or family abuse situations, financial difficulties, or moments of extreme loneliness. These challenges were not random. Each one was part of a process that prepared you to become stronger, more resilient, and above all, more aware of your true role in the world. While many children enjoyed a light and carefree childhood, You probably had to mature quickly, learn to deal with pains that many adults don't even understand. And as if the difficulties were not enough, there was also the tendency to attract difficult people and unjust situations. From a very early age, the chosen ones seemed to awaken intense reactions in others. Manipulative, envious, or abusive people are often drawn to their lives as if guided by an invisible force. This is because those who carry a powerful inner light disturb those who live in darkness. Often you may have been the target of criticism, humiliation, and even persecution without understanding why. Teachers who seemed to pick on you for no reason, schoolmates who chose you to bully, family members who tried to put you down. It was as if your presence, without doing anything, provoked discomfort in others. But this persecution was not a punishment. It was a reflection of your unique essence, which even without wanting to, destabilized those who were not ready to see the truth. On the other hand, despite all these difficulties, there was something inside you that never faded, the intuitive connection with something greater. You always had questions that no one seemed to care to ask. You looked at the sky and wondered about the existence of the universe. You felt that there was something beyond what was taught, as if a truth was hidden, waiting to be discovered. From childhood, you may have felt a protective presence by your side, a force that guided your steps even in the most difficult moments. While others merely followed religious teachings without question, you sought deeper answers. Your soul knew there was something more. This connection with the divine, with the universe, with something beyond matter, was always within you, even when you tried to ignore it. Over time, this difference became more evident. While other children simply followed the flow of society, you wanted to understand the purpose of existence. Perhaps you asked questions that made adults uncomfortable. Why do people lie? Why is there so much suffering? What happens after death? Often, your questions were avoided or met with superficial answers. But you knew there was something deeper, knowledge beyond what was taught in schools or family traditions. And this made you feel alone many times. After all, how many children did you meet who thought like you? This isolation may have been painful, but it was also one of the biggest signs that your journey was not ordinary. You were not here to follow the path of everyone else. From an early age, your soul already carried a different frequency, a call that few would understand. And this loneliness, which so often weighed on your shoulders, was actually a gift. Because it was in moments of silence, introspection, that you began to awaken to who you truly are. It was in pain that you found the truth. Now looking back, many pieces begin to fit together. The childhood of the chosen ones is not like that of other people. It wasn't simple, it wasn't light, but it was necessary. Each challenge shaped your strength. Each pain activated your sensitivity. Each injustice taught the lesson you needed to learn. And now, at this moment, you are about to understand something that few people in the world will have the chance to discover. What happened to you is not a mistake. Everything had a purpose, and in the next few minutes, you will finally know what it is. From an early age, the lives of the chosen ones seemed to follow a harder path than most people. The difficulties faced in childhood were not coincidences, but an essential part of spiritual training. Every trial you went through, every moment of pain, abandonment, or injustice was a fundamental piece to mold who you really are. Nothing was by chance. Unlike other children who had a light childhood without major challenges, the chosen ones were subjected to experiences that forced them to mature earlier, to develop an inner strength they themselves did not understand. But why? What was behind all this? The answer is simple: you needed to be ready. The universe never gives a weight greater than what a soul can carry, and the battles you faced in childhood were preparing you for something much greater. To understand this better, imagine the concept of spiritual refinement. Think of a rough stone, without a defined shape, without shine. At first glance, it may seem insignificant, but when it is subjected to cutting, to intense fire and pressure, its true beauty begins to emerge. This process is not quick, nor is it easy. It takes cutting, breaking, shaping each detail until the jewel is revealed. The same happens with the chosen ones. You were born with a unique inner glow, but for this light to be fully activated, it was necessary to go through the fire of transformation. Each pain, each loss, and each injustice were like hammer blows to your essence, removing layers of fear, insecurity, and illusion, so that your true mission could emerge. Suffering was never a punishment, but a refining process. But why does this process need to be so painful? Because suffering builds the mission of the chosen ones. The greatest life lessons are not learned in comfort, but in moments of greatest challenge. If you went through situations that required early maturation, if you had to face losses when you were still very young, if you felt rejected or abandoned, all this was preparing you for something that, at that moment, you could not yet see. Each difficulty you faced in childhood did not come to destroy you, but to strengthen you. The chosen ones have a mission far beyond common understanding, and to fulfill it, they need the resilience of someone who has already overcome internal challenges. Each suffering was a push for you to awaken, to find your true strength. And this journey is not easy because the world resists the awakening of the chosen ones. The system we live in does not favor those who seek the truth, who question, who perceive beyond the surface. Since childhood, you probably noticed that thinking differently bothered others. Maybe you felt that your ideas were not well received, that people tried to fit you into patterns in which you never fit. This world was not made for those who see beyond. It favors alienation, mediocrity, and conformity. That is why the chosen ones go through trials from an early age, because they need to be strong enough not to get lost in this illusion. This is not something new. Spiritual teachings show that the chosen ones have always faced difficulties since childhood. If we look at history, great spiritual masters, prophets, and leaders went through childhoods marked by rejection and suffering. Many of them were born in adverse conditions, faced persecutions, or were discredited from an early age. This happens because the mission of a chosen one is never simple. From childhood, the soul already carries a call that challenges what is considered normal. And those who carry this light often face opposition from the very environment in which they were born. The world has always tried to silence those who have a powerful truth to share. But what about the emotional scars these experiences leave? They are inevitable. The weight of the experiences lived in the childhood of the chosen ones does not simply disappear with time. Many of these wounds are still present, shaping how you relate to the world. But there is something you need to understand. These marks are not just scars from the past, they are signs of your calling. They show how much you have already been through, how much you have already overcome. Each moment of pain was a reminder that you have a special journey. What once seemed like just suffering was actually training. If all this happened to strengthen you, what to do with this pain now? The moment of transformation has arrived. Now that you understand that your childhood was not a mistake, that each challenge was a teaching, you have a new path ahead of you. You can continue carrying these pains as open wounds, or you can use them as fuel for your awakening. The chosen ones cannot afford to be victims of their own stories. They need to understand that each scar is a trophy, a symbol of overcoming and evolution. And this is the moment to look back and see everything with new eyes. When you realize that everything had a purpose, your perception of your own life changes completely. You begin to understand that, as painful as it was, each detail was necessary to make you who you are. You are not weak for having suffered. On the contrary, your pain was proof of your strength. The chosen ones are those who transform pain into learning, suffering into evolution, darkness into light. What happened to you in childhood was not a punishment, it was preparation. And now that you know this, you need to make a decision. Will you continue living in the past, stuck in the pains that should have already been transformed, or will you use all this to activate your true purpose? The time of doubt is over. You have come this far because something inside you always knew that there was something greater reserved for your life. Since childhood, many chosen ones realize that there is something different about them. It may be a difficult to explain sensation, a constant feeling of isolation or exclusion, even when surrounded by other people. You may have felt out of place among schoolmates, within your own family, or in social groups where it seemed everyone spoke the same language except you. From an early age, there was that impression that you saw the world differently, that your concerns were not the same as those of other children, that what made sense to others simply didn't make sense to you. This was not a mistake. Chosen ones are born with a different energy, and this energy often makes them misunderstood. It's not that you didn't belong to this world, but rather that this world wasn't ready to understand you. Another common trait among chosen ones since childhood is maturity beyond their age. While other children were just concerned with playing and living in the moment, you already carried deep thoughts, reflections about life, and an understanding of human suffering that didn't match your age. Perhaps you remembered things you had never learned, had insights into situations that seemed too complex for a child, or felt an intuition so strong that you knew things even before they happened. Many chosen ones demonstrate this maturity from an early age because their souls have already lived previous experiences. Your spirit was already prepared for a mission, and therefore, could never fully fit into the superficialities of the world around you. And this difference did not go unnoticed. The chosen ones are often targets of injustices and persecutions, even in childhood. Maybe you were treated differently by the adults around you, felt that certain people looked at you strangely, or that, for no apparent reason, you were the target of criticism, rejections, or even humiliations. From a young age, the chosen ones seem to attract resistance, as if their mere existence bothered those who live in the automatism of life. Teachers, family members, schoolmates. At some point, you must have felt that you were being tested disproportionately. And this has a reason. The light of the chosen ones causes discomfort in those who are not ready to see beyond the surface. But at the same time the world seemed to reject you in many moments, there was something inside you that never faded, a deep sense of empathy and connection with others. Even having suffered, you continued to feel the other's pain, as if their emotions were yours. Since childhood, you perceived when someone was sad, when a word hurt someone, when an energy in the environment was heavy. You absorbed everything, felt everything. This emotional hypersensitivity may have been a burden in many moments, because while others moved on without noticing anything, you felt the pains of the world as if they were yours. But this empathy was not a mistake, it was a gift. The chosen ones carry a heart that feels intensely because they were called to illuminate the paths of those who live in darkness. And this connection with the invisible was not restricted only to the emotional world. Many chosen ones had deep spiritual experiences in childhood. Maybe you had vivid dreams that seemed more real than reality itself. You may have felt presences around you, heard whispers when no one was around, or had intuitions so strong that they seemed direct messages from the universe. Some chosen children report frequent déjà vus, as if they had lived that moment before, or even memories of past lives, feelings that they had been here before. Others perceive repetitive patterns of numbers, symbols that appear at specific moments, coincidences that cannot be explained by common logic. These experiences were not the product of your imagination. They were signs, little reminders that your journey was not like that of other people. And even without knowing exactly what your path was, something inside you always carried the feeling that you were here for a greater purpose. You always knew deep in your soul that there was a purpose waiting to be discovered. While other children went about their lives without questions, you wondered about the meaning of existence. You felt an inexplicable emptiness, as if something was missing, as if a truth was hidden, waiting to be revealed. Even if you couldn't put it into words, you knew that your life couldn't just be about working, surviving, and repeating the same patterns as always. This restlessness was not a mistake. It was the calling, the inner voice that pushed you towards the search, the awakening, the recognition of your true mission. But recognizing these signs is not enough. True transformation happens when you accept who you really are. Many people spend their lives denying their gifts, trying to fit in where they don't belong, hiding their sensitivity so as not to appear weak, or ignoring their intuition because they were taught to believe only in logic. But ignoring the call never brings peace. On the contrary, it brings suffering. The more you resist what you came to do, the more life brings difficult lessons for you to finally awaken. The path of the chosen ones is not simple, but the choice to accept it or not will always be in your hands. And this acceptance is the key to your liberation. When you stop trying to be what others expect, when you stop denying your true nature and finally embrace your gift, everything starts to make sense. You stop carrying the weight of trying to fit in where you never belonged and start walking with lightness, with awareness, with the certainty that every experience you have lived so far had a purpose. Accepting the call does not mean that the challenges will disappear, but it means that you will finally know why you went through each one of them. Carrying childhood pains without reframing them is like walking down a long road carrying a backpack full of stones. At first, you may not notice the weight, but over time, it begins to affect your energy, your mood, and even your destiny. The emotional wounds you accumulated in childhood do not define who you are, but ignoring them can prevent you from becoming who you were meant to be. For the chosen ones, these pains are not just painful memories, but signs of a transformation process that needs to be completed. The key to moving forward is not to forget, but to understand the meaning behind each scar. Every injustice you experienced, every moment of loneliness, every tear that fell in the silence of the night had a purpose. Now, it's time to transform that pain into power. The first step towards this transformation is to learn how to heal the accumulated emotional pains. What happened to you in childhood may have left deep scars, but you don't have to carry that burden forever. One of the most effective ways to start this process is through reframing. This means looking at the past not with the eyes of a victim, but with the eyes of someone who learned something valuable. Ask yourself, what did this experience teach me? How did it make me stronger? Chosen ones are not defined by the suffering they experienced, but by how they transform that suffering into wisdom. When you begin to see your pains as lessons, rather than burdens, they no longer have power over you. Moreover, there are spiritual tools that can accelerate this awakening process. One of the most powerful is meditation and inner silence. We live in a world where external noise distances us from our own essence. The mind is constantly bombarded by distractions, worries, and thought patterns that have been implanted over the years. Chosen ones need to learn to reconnect with their own energy, and meditation is a bridge to this connection. When you silence the outer world, you begin to hear what has always been inside you. The answer to your pains is not outside, but within. The moment you learn to listen to yourself, you will begin to understand what the next step in your journey is. Another essential element in the awakening of the chosen ones is connecting with your intuition and learning to trust it. Since childhood, you have had premonitions, revealing dreams, inexplicable feelings about people and situations. But over the years, the world has tried to make you doubt these perceptions. Maybe they called you too sensitive, a dreamer, someone who saw things that weren't there. But the truth is that your intuition was always right. The spirituality of the chosen ones manifests strongly through this inner voice that guides, alerts, and directs. To activate this gift, you need to start trusting it again. Ask yourself, how many times did I feel something and ignored it, only to later realize I was right? Intuition is the map that leads you to your purpose, and trusting it is one of the most important steps in embracing your mission. But none of these tools will be effective if you are still stuck in the past. The process of freeing yourself from old ties is essential for you to move forward. This means letting go of resentments, traumas, and fears that still hold you back. Often, we are trapped in past hurts without realizing that this prevents us from moving forward. You cannot change what happened, but you can decide that these experiences will no longer have power over you. Chosen ones need to learn to let go of what no longer serves them. This process may involve forgiveness, not because others deserve it, but because you deserve to be free. It may involve cutting ties with people and environments that drain your energy. It may mean stepping out of your comfort zone to seek a new path. Whatever the necessary step, freeing yourself from the past is an act of courage and growth. And the only way to move forward is through self-knowledge. The chosen ones who do not know themselves deeply end up feeling lost, out of place, and directionless. Those who do not know who they are, do not know where they are going. Therefore, you need to ask yourself, what makes me feel alive? What brings me peace? What are my true talents and passions? True spirituality is not just in rituals or external beliefs, but in the deep understanding of who you really are. The more you know yourself, the clearer your purpose becomes. The more you understand your worth, the less you accept to remain in situations that do not correspond to your essence. And part of this process involves practicing gratitude for the trials you have experienced. This may seem difficult because the human mind tends to cling to pain and injustices. But everything you went through had a reason. Every fall, every obstacle, every moment of pain was a step on the ladder of your evolution. When you begin to look back and thank, instead of lamenting, something inside you changes. Gratitude is an act of power. It is an acknowledgement that nothing was in vain. When you learn to be grateful even for the difficult moments, the universe realizes that you are ready to move on to the next level of your mission. But for this transformation to happen, you need to act. And here is a practical exercise to help you reconnect with your true purpose. Take a piece of paper and write down 3 things that happened in your childhood that still hurt you. Then, next to each one of them, write down what that experience taught you. Try to see the hidden lesson behind the pain. After writing, read each sentence aloud and say, I accept this experience as part of my evolution. I release the weight of this pain and allow it to strengthen me. Do this for 7 consecutive days and notice how your perception of the past begins to change. The chosen ones cannot carry their wounds like chains that bind them to suffering. They need to transform them into wings that lead them to liberation. And now that you know this, there is only one question left. Are you ready to leave the past behind and embrace what has always been yours by right? If so, then it is time to take the next step. Because the final revelation about what all this means is about to be unveiled. The world needs the chosen ones now more than ever. We live in times of chaos, uncertainty, and confusion, where the truth is often hidden by illusions, and most people walk without direction, without purpose, without seeing beyond what is shown to them. The chosen ones are those who came to awaken consciousness, to bring light where there is darkness, to remind people of something they have forgotten. If you went through everything you did in childhood, it was not by chance. Your journey shaped your perception, sharpened your sensitivity, and prepared you to become a beacon in the midst of the storm. You feel, deep in your soul, that you came for something greater. And that feeling doesn't lie. It is your compass, guiding you to what you have always been destined to do. But carrying this light is not a simple task. The chosen ones have a responsibility that not everyone can bear. Have you noticed that when you try to talk about certain truths, many people react with resistance or disbelief? That some are not even ready to see beyond the veil of common reality? This happens because not everyone is prepared to awaken. The truth requires courage. It requires a genuine will to step out of the comfort zone and face life with new eyes. Many prefer to remain asleep, living on autopilot. But the chosen ones cannot afford this luxury. They came to challenge the system, to question, to teach, to remind others of what truly matters. This does not mean imposing truths or trying to convince those who do not want to listen, but rather being a living example of transformation. And to be this example, you need to learn to transform challenges into spiritual strength. Many people who went through difficult childhoods carry their pains as heavy burdens, as justifications to remain stuck in the past. But the chosen ones cannot afford to fall into victimization. Each obstacle, each suffering, each trial was an evolutionary step, a test to make you stronger. Pain can imprison or liberate, and the choice lies in how you interpret it. If you see your difficulties as signs that life was unfair, you will remain stuck in that energy. But if you understand that each one of them was a part of your training, you will realize that nothing was in vain. Your spirit was forged in the fire of transformation, and now you have the chance to use that as power. The truth is that the universe never abandons those who follow their path. Look back and see how many times life protected you, how many times something inside you guided you even when everything seemed lost. Chosen ones never walk alone. There are invisible forces, signs, intuitions, and paths that always open at the right moment. When you accept your mission, you begin to realize that all the pieces were fitting together all along. The resistance you faced was not a punishment, but a preparation. The world may try to divert you, but if you stand firm in your truth, you will realize that there was always something greater guiding you. The connection with the divine is real, and the more you accept it, the clearer your purpose becomes. But for this to happen, you need to stay aligned with your essence. In today's world, there are countless distractions, illusions, and traps that can cause a chosen one to lose their way. The pursuit of recognition, the desire to fit in, the fear of being different, all these can divert you from your true calling. Staying aligned means being in tune with your intuition, trusting the signs, not ignoring what your soul already knows. Some strategies for this include practicing inner silence to hear your own voice, filtering external influences that try to shape your worldview, and connecting with what brings you peace and purpose. Chosen ones cannot get lost in the crowd. They need to constantly remember who they are and why they are here. And if you still had doubts about your mission, this is the moment of clarity. The calling is before you. The time to deny who you are is over. Your entire life prepared you for this moment. You did not go through everything you did by chance. You did not feel everything you felt without reason. You did not get here by luck. Everything was a construction, a preparation so that now you could understand your role in the world. And the question is, are you ready to accept it? Are you ready to stop hiding, to embrace your power, to set aside doubts and follow the path that was laid out for you from the beginning? Many will hear this message and continue living as before, ignoring the signs, clinging to the past, refusing to see the truth. But some, those who truly feel the resonance of these words, will recognize that this is the moment to act. The world needs the chosen ones, but only those who accept their calling can manifest their true potential. There is no more time for hesitation. Awakening is not something that happens in a day, but rather a choice you make every moment. Choose to see beyond. Choose to listen to your intuition. Choose to accept the truth that has always been within you. And now that you know this, there remains one last revelation. Why did all this happen to you? Why was your childhood different? Why did you always feel that there was something greater waiting for you? In the next few moments, you will discover the final answer. And when this truth is revealed, nothing will ever be the same again. Now comes the moment of the great revelation. You have already realized that your childhood was not ordinary. that the challenges you faced were not by chance, and that there is a greater purpose behind everything that happened to you. But why did this happen? Why was it necessary to go through so much suffering? The answer is simple but transformative. Your childhood was shaped to prepare you because the world needs you awakened. The chosen ones do not come into the world to follow the flow, to get lost in superficiality, or to live an empty existence. They come to awaken, to guide, to transform. But before helping others, it is necessary to go through your own process of refinement. All your pain was a call, training to make you strong enough to fulfill your mission. Pain was never a punishment. The suffering you faced in childhood was not a punishment, it was not a mistake, and much less a sign that you were not worthy of love or happiness. Every tear, every moment of loneliness, every injustice you experienced was part of a deep spiritual training. Think of the most skilled warriors. They do not become strong without battles. Think of the wisest teachers. They do not achieve wisdom without challenges. The chosen ones are those who need to learn firsthand what pain is, so that they can teach others how to overcome it. If your childhood was difficult, it means you were prepared for something great. And this is the great cycle of transformation of the chosen ones. All childhood suffering can be reframed and used as a guide to help other people. What once seemed like just pain becomes understanding. What once seemed like injustice becomes wisdom. Those who can see beyond suffering find a greater purpose in it. If you learn to deal with loneliness, you can teach others to do the same. If you have been betrayed, you can teach the value of true trust. If you face deep fears, you can show others how to overcome them. Your past is your greatest tool for transformation. When you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What can I do with this?" your life changes completely. And within this process, there is a fundamental key: faith and spiritual connection. During the most challenging moments of your childhood, you may have wondered where God was, where the divine protection was. But now you understand that He never abandoned you. The divine purpose never fails, and every step of your journey was guided so that you could become who you were born to be. Faith is the strength that sustains the chosen ones when the world tries to crush them. And the more you trust this purpose, the clearer your mission becomes. The universe does not make mistakes. What seemed like a storm was actually a path to your awakening. And here is another powerful truth: you were never alone. In the darkest moments, when it seemed that no one understood you, when everything seemed to collapse, there was something greater protecting you. How many times have you felt that you escaped dangerous situations without explanation? How many times did something inside you tell you to take a different path, and later you realized that it saved you? How many times, even in pain, did an invisible force keep you firm? The chosen ones are never abandoned. Spiritual protection was always by your side, even when you could not see it. And now that you know this, you need to learn to trust it. Now, the decision is in your hands. What will you do with this revelation? You can continue living as before, ignoring the signs, pretending that none of this is real, fitting into a world that was never made for you. Or you can accept who you truly are. You can embrace your mission, reframe your pain, and use it as fuel for your awakening. The call is here. You feel it. Now it is your turn to decide whether to answer this call or continue resisting it. The time for doubt is over. Now you know why everything happened. Now you understand that your childhood was preparation, not punishment. Now you see that your journey had a purpose. The question that remains is, are you ready to accept your destiny? The chosen ones do not come into the world to live like anyone else. They come to transform, to teach, to enlighten. And the world desperately needs your light. And know that by accepting your mission, you will never be the same. Something inside you will awaken in an irreversible way. Your vision of life will change, your purpose will become clearer, and you will never feel lost again. Because now you know who you really are. Now you understand why you always felt different. Now you see that each piece of the puzzle was fitting together all along. Now it is your turn to shine. If this message resonated with you, then your awakening has already begun. What you do from now on will define your future. You have a calling, you have a mission, you have a purpose. And now that you know the truth, everything in your life will begin to make sense. The moment has come. The world is waiting for you. Now you have the answer you may have been searching for your whole life. Nothing that happened to you in childhood was a mistake. Every pain, every challenge, every moment of loneliness was a sign of your calling, a preparation for you to awaken to who you really are. You were never a victim of fate, but someone chosen for a greater mission. And now that you understand this, your vision of your own journey will never be the same. The time for questioning is over. The time for doubting yourself is behind you. What matters now is what you will do with this truth. You can choose to ignore it and continue living as before, or you can embrace it and start your journey with awareness, knowing that every step you take from now on has a real purpose. If this message touched you, then it means your soul has already recognized your truth. You have a purpose. You are not here by chance. The world needs people like you, who see beyond what is visible, who feel beyond what is explained, who carry within themselves the light necessary to transform the reality around them. But this journey is not automatic. Awakening is a daily choice, a decision to live aligned with your mission, to not get lost in distractions, to keep evolving, even when everything seems difficult. Your journey is just beginning. Now that you understand your calling, it's time to take the next step. And I want you to know that you are not alone. There are many other people like you, searching for answers, feeling the same calling, trying to understand why they are different. Here, on this channel, you will always find content that will strengthen your journey, that will help you understand your mission, that will remind you of who you really are. So, if this video made sense to you, share this message, because there are other chosen ones who are still asleep, waiting for this revelation. Subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, and keep following this journey. And before closing, I want you to do something very important. In the comments, write a single sentence: I accept my calling. This is not just an interaction. It is a commitment, a first step in your journey of transformation. May this truth remain in your heart, and may you never again doubt the purpose of your existence. Now, the world awaits what you have to offer. Are you ready to answer the call?